Hi, good morning. I am Anna Imagination. We are going to talk about coping styles this morning. I love talking about coping styles. Of everything I have, this is like, I'm very excited. And I'm probably going to say that in front of every video I do. I love this topic. So, one day we'll sit down and we'll go through it. But coping styles. So, coping styles is basically when you are experiencing a need for self care, when you are experiencing stress, anxiety, trauma, anything. We all gravitate towards something that we call a coping style. A coping style falls into two categories. You are either a controller or you are an avoidant. Both, they're neither good nor bad, they just are. The best way to determine which one you are is your attachment style. If you know your attachment style, great. Now, an attachment style is actually a self soothing mechanism. But remember my whole everything's on a spectrum? We're back to the spectrum. So you can be a controller. That's fine. You can be an avoider. And there's a spectrum. But the attachment style, if you do not have a secure attachment style, it's going to be way over here. And now you have basically a severe controlling. I'm an avoidant, and it's turned all the way up to a level 10. I'm a controller, and it's turned all the way up to level 10. You want a secure attachment style, which is going to put you right where you need to be. It's going to turn down your coping style, but your coping styles are still there. And if you've ever had a history with addiction, you are looking at avoidant, like hands down. Any addiction that is 100% avoidant, and you are caught in the anxiety, fear, guilt cycle. That's all that is. And again, this is the avoidant addiction is the avoidance coping self-soothing style. So you want to turn this down, and you really want to just fall into what kind of a coping style are you? So the ideal is to have a secure attachment style while being aware of what your coping style is. So we're going to get into coping styles. You can be both. You can have both avoidant and controller. I personally am I was both. Now I'm leaning more toward a controller. And again, it's not good nor bad. But my brain doesn't quite function in the sense of an avoider. I'm not an avoider at all. That my avoidance side was trauma induced. And now that the trauma's gone, now that the mental illness is gone and my attachment style is secure, the avoidant went away. I'm a firm believer that if you're both, then you probably have borderline personality disorder, because that's now disorganized attachment style or anxious avoidant attachment style. And now that's linked to borderline personality disorder. Whole nother mess. We're not even going to talk about that. So throw that away. So now we're just going to look at your coping style. Once you know your coping style and you understand how coping styles work, when you experience anxiety or overwhelm, your coping style is basically required. You plug into your coping style and you're able to pretty much navigate whatever you need. This gets this is like the core of all self care regimens. Whenever any of my clients work with me and they want to know more about self care, and I dive into I have an entire week dedicated to self care. One of the things that I focus really hardcore on to is understanding your coping style. That way you can better manage your self-care and you do what you need to regulate self-care. So we're going to get started. Now, because I'm a controller, that's what I understand. And it's funny, I was just talking to one of my clients, and as I was talking to her, I didn't know if she was a controller or an avoider. So when I was giving examples of avoider, my subconscious immediately started chiming in. That's not right. And I'm like, subconscious, calm down. I know you're a controller, but there are other people out there. So it's very hard for me to talk about avoiders because my subconscious gets involved. So I'm going to focus on controlling and use that as an example to appease my subconscious. But really, I really need to sit down with avoiders and just like talk to them about it so I can get data and information without my subconscious getting hysterical. So here's how your coping style basically dictates what needs to get done. So anxiety and overwhelm comes from wanting to do something. Your subconscious wants to do something. Your identity is saying, go do X, and you can't. It could be because you don't have the money to do X. It could be because you are physically sick, or you feel like you can't, or you may be in an abusive situation where you you will be abused if you do X. The other one is you were abused, you were conditioned that if you were to do X, you'll be abused, even though the abuse is gone. So it also might be an imagined fear. I'm going to use claustrophobia as a phenomenal example for this. So I went to an event. I wanted to go to an event. It was a Halloween party and it was located on the top floor of this bar in New York City. At the time, I had claustrophobia, but it was on the 11th floor. Now, it was my first week in New York City, and that didn't process yet. There had no meaning. So when they said it's on the 11th floor, I went, okay, I'll take the stairs. Anna, it's on the 11th floor. Yeah, okay, I'll take the stairs. This was the event that cured me of my claustrophobia. I got to the 11th floor. Well, I got to the 5th floor and I said, this is crap. I got to the 7th floor and I went, all right, I understand now. The 11th floor, the very first thing I said is, so I am totally tackling my claustrophobia because there is no way I am avoiding elevators in this city. So 2 weeks later, I'm no longer claustrophobic. That being said, we're going to break down what was really going on in my subconscious at this time. So, there was the I want to go to the party located on the 11th floor. That's the desire, that's the want, that's the goal. Obstacle, boom, elevator. Now, control, I'm going to take the stairs. See, there's a solution. So I'm not actually trapped because I have a solution. But what if there were no stairs? In fact, I had this once. I went to a facility and they said there's no stairs. And my subconscious said that's a lie because according to New York State law, there has to be an elevator and handicap accessibility on all stairs. So that's bullcrap. Where are your stairs? Turns out they did lie to me. There were stairs and it turned into a nightmare. Twofold, but we'll talk about that later. So what if there are no stairs? Actually, we'll take that. What if there are no stairs? There were no stairs. Now I have to take the elevator. Now I have a choice. Take the elevator or don't take the elevator. Step into the box or not to. When the fear is greater than your ability to do, that's when you feel trapped and your anxiety builds and you feel overwhelmed. This is where self soothing is really vital, especially if you're in a situation where you want and you really can't, whether it's mentally being stopped, phobias getting involved, physically being abused. You literally lack the money and the capability. Things like that come into place. So, when this happens, it's really important to soothe your subconscious because your subconscious is going to take this information and immediately launch it into a level 3 full scale red alert. We don't need that from the subconscious. The subconscious really needs a name because it's got a whole personality onto itself and I talk to mine way too much. So when you're in this situation where you basically are in this space, I imagine it being a room. In all my videos, every time I talk about fear and anxiety, it's a room, and fear is the door. It's on the other side of the door. The only way to basically I'm not going to get into fear and anxiety and how to tackle fear. Those are in my other videos. On this one, we're going to talk about coping styles. So you're in the room, you're not going through the door, and you're going to start feeling that anxiety arise. Maybe you can go through the door, but it's going to have to wait. Maybe you can go through the door, but you're in a position right now. So now you're looking at having to sit with the anxiety. When you are in a position where you have to sit with the anxiety, now what you need to do is sit your butt down and cope. So, coping styles, you pull in your controller. If you are a controller, one of the best things you can do is clean, do dishes, take care of yourself, do exercise, have a schedule. One of my dearest friends, she was amazing with that. I called her up one day and we were doing the whole girlfriend chat, and she was telling me how I'm frustrated. I don't have a job. I've been applying. I've been doing all the things, but I'm not getting employed. It's the longest I've been unemployed. I'm feeling really worried. I've got no income. My savings are dwindling, and I'm starting to feel anxiety. So I go to the gym. I've been rearranging my furniture. I had leftover paint, so I painted the walls. I and she started listing off all these activities. And I just I didn't I laughed. I was like, "Yeah, that's so funny." I said, "You are such a controller." And she's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I'm like, "Not in that sense. It's your coping style type." And I explained, you have your coping styles, you have your controllers or your avoiders. And I said avoiders would sit on the TV and play video games. Oh, there's a great example of avoiders. Ah, okay. They would sit down and play video games. Oh, my son's an avoider. Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay, so they would do video games, or they seek out addiction, or they seek out, that's not really true because addiction can access both. I'll have to rethink that. So, throwing that aside. So, basically, avoiders literally seek to escape the moment. So, they seek the video games, they seek television, they seek distraction. So, they want to distract. Controllers don't want the distraction. The opposite. Oh my God, don't try and distract me. I've got a problem here. Don't get like it needs my full attention. And that's really it. Is you have people who say there's a problem, it requires my full attention. Whereas avoiders say there's a problem, I need to just if I want to decompress, I need to watch TV or I need to. And this is where avoiders can run into the problem of they're avoiding too much and they will avoid or they could avoid it, fall into the trap of avoiding actually taking care of the problem. So the downside of this is if your coping style is one or the other, it could backfire. If it's an avoidant, then you run the risk and you have to be careful not to avoid it to the point where you're neglecting the problem. Controllers have the opposite problem where they are needing to relax more and they're needing to shut down. They're needing to be more hands off. So, the right formula is you want to self soothe with your coping style, but you also want to make sure you're still addressing the problem. And once that gets out of alignment, now if you fall into the out of balance line with this, it's all going to implode basically. It's all going to implode. And now you're basically falling into the mental illness realm. So you want to in a healthy way cope using your controller style or your avoider style, but you also still want to be doing the work to keep the balance. That way, the problem does get resolved. So, controllers are going to be, if you are a controller, and again, the best way to do this is to determine your attachment style. If you know your attachment style, there's your answer. If you are an avoider, you probably should take a shower, brush your teeth, do hygiene, absolutely at home hygiene, cook. Um, cleaning is huge. Go to the gym, exercise, go for a walk. Physically put your body to work because that's what controllers need. They are hands-on, they are tactile. They must and that's really it is they are tactile and they have to feel like they're doing something. So controllers have to do. They are very much doers. An avoider is more sensual. That's really the difference. An avoider is sensual. They want the physical comfort. They want the self-soothing. They want the turn off my mind. They want to shut down. They want to sit down and watch TV. They want to go into a fantasy. That these could be book readers. They both the controller and the avoider could both go on a walk. And this is beautiful because walking is a fantastic solution for both of them because the walk for a controller is I'm physically moving my legs, I'm physically moving my body, and I'm physically going somewhere. But an avoider is look at the trees. It's such a beautiful day outside. And it's funny because I never noticed that stuff. I'm thinking, I'm doing, I'm walking, I'm moving, I'm looking, I'm feeling. But avoiders are, oh, what a leisure stroll. I'm looking around, I'm enjoying the smells, I'm playing my video game on my phone, I'm going to stop here. And it's a completely different experience. Even though it's the same activity, it's a completely different experience because the controller is focused all in on all the doing, but the avoider is focused in all on the sensations. So it's really, again, it's just, and that is self soothing. So when you feel anxiety, when you feel overwhelmed, that is your first red flag, your body communicating to your system, hey, you're ignoring my needs. Do something, help. And it really, and that's mental health in a nutshell, is your subconscious uses emotions to give you communication signals all day long. And people don't know how to recognize them. People don't know how to read them. So when you get an emotion, it's not just an emotion. Emotions are logical. Emotions are so very logical. They are red flags from your subconscious communicating to you. In fact, every, I'm saying it all emotions, all negative emotions are red flags from your subconscious telling you, hey, Captain, conscious mind, there's a problem. Do something. And because we don't speak subconscious, we don't do anything. We just, oh, emotions are illogical, so I'm just going to ignore these emotions. Now the subconscious is going to turn up the volume, and it's going to keep turning up the volume until you listen, because it needs to motivate the consciousness to do. And that's all the subconscious does. It protects the identity, it protects the mental health of the system. And if you don't listen, it's going to turn up the volume. And the subconscious will do anything to motivate you. We really need a name for the subconscious. I think I'm going to do like a voting on it in my Facebook group on what should we call the subconscious, because we really need a name for this thing, because it has its own personality. It really does. The subconscious and you and your intuition are like the triad of healing. It's you, the conscious mind, and you're only 5% of you. That's it. You're just 5%. You are just 5 little itty bitty percent. The subconscious is 95%. And you're both, ignore the intuition. The intuition is like a whole nother level and a whole nother part to it. And it's funny because at the apex of my healing, I had all the balance. Well, I had all the balancing. I didn't. I had the subconscious balanced. I had that working. I had the conscious mind, and we were a great team, and it still wasn't working efficiently. I still had problems. And I'm like, I don't understand. I've got all of this going for me with subconsciousness, with my mental health. Why am I not functioning still? And that's when I realized my energy healing and my intuition were being neglected. So I had to pull from the Eastern culture. I had to pull from meditation. I had to pull from Hinduism, from the Vedic. I had to pull from yoga. I had to pull from Reiki, and I had to pull from the energies and the chakras just to take care of the intuition. I had to pull from astrology just to soothe the intuition, because the subconscious doesn't touch that. Has nothing to do with the subconscious. So your intuition could be going off, your chakras could be blocked, but your subconscious doesn't deal with that. Your subconscious keeps the identity safe and running and operating by making sure emotions are communicated to the conscious mind. That's you, to make sure everything runs properly. And the conscious mind is trapped between the gut feeling and the trauma, or that gut instinct and the gut intuition, or what the subconscious is trying to do. So there's a lot of pulling with the conscious mind. You are being pulled between your gut feeling and what the subconscious wants. And if you're not working all three of them in a triadic balance, the system's just not going to work. So our issues are a lack of alignment and a lack of imbalance. That's it. Once you understand how things align and how things are balanced, you can bring them all into place. And a huge part of this is understanding your coping style and making sure that you have a self care regimen that is catered and designed for your coping style. Absolutely. That is something I offer in my masterclass that is available. I'm going to have a lot more information available. If you have any interest in signing up or subscribing, book a call with me now. Book a call, book a call, book a call. It's free. You get an hour of me, and I pull everything apart. I love doing this. So, um, all the links are below. Go ahead and book a call with me, and I can give you like a basic on this is what you're neglecting. This is how you need to do self care. This is what you need over here. And now we're going to bring it all together. This is triadic healing. That might, I'm in the process of rebranding, so that might be my new motto, is triadic healing. It really is like complete healing. It's not just looking at one aspect. It's not just doing one thing. It's doing all of them. Holistic triadic healing. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I love rebranding. So thank you so much for joining me, and may the kindest of words always find you.